sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do?
Welcome, everybody. Hello, my name is Andrew.
What you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think.
Daily
Rise from the ashes.
Monday to Friday, new Eastern time, same bat time, same bat channel. Guys, purpose of these calls is to help you develop yourselves to become better personally and emotionally and mentally, and at the same time, work on improving your business in a number of different ways. I want to help you guys grow. And so we do that with mindset and skill set training. And I bring on occasionally, I am blessed to have an opportunity to talk with some people that know more. I mean, I always get to talk with people who know more than I do about all sorts of different things. Today, I have a guest on. Now, Dan is someone that I met at the Speakeasy in Austin. You guys know Steve Sims. We've had him on. We've had Henry Sims on. Got to meet Dan. We got to talking. And I think the first thing that we connected with was an awkward dive bar here in Orlando that we had both been to and got to laugh about, because it really is. I mean, when I say awkward, that's exactly, there's no other way to describe it. And so we got to laughing about that and then got to conversing. Dan, guys, I was super fascinated by him and his story and his wife and just kind of who they are. They went from, working this part-time job in the mall to doing so many different things. So one of the first things he was talking about is, this huge group that they have on Clubhouse, and they're always doing trainings there, and they meet with some of the coolest people ever. And, he's been able to do that. They have a mastermind group where they do these very, very cool intimate dinners with people that are just tremendous in their space. And so they've got that. They've got brick and mortar businesses. You guys do real estate investing. You have a hotel in the Philippines, right? I mean, just all sorts of different stuff. The guy is cool as hell. And then they dove into this metaverse world. And it's so cool. So I wanted to kind of bring him on and talk about the whole story. So Dan, thank you for coming, sir. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I wish I was related to Tony or Mel, by the way. Somebody asked that.
So talk to me a little bit. Stay off of mute, dude. So, because we're gonna just chat, you and I. So tell me a little bit about kind of how you got into like the entrepreneurial space to begin with, and then we'll get to the metaverse, guys. We want to talk to you about some basics there, but I kind of want to talk to you about just overall journey. Like, how did you start down that pathway?
Yeah, and thank you. So my wife started 10 years ago, actually in 2012. So this would be the 10-year anniversary of her first business. Me, I didn't really want to be an entrepreneur. I tried when I was 20, 21 years old. I actually moved from Connecticut to Florida, like you're saying, in Orlando, to go to that dive bar, but also to start a business. And that business failed within a year. It was a cell phone store in a mall. And I worked a heck of a lot of hours. And I said, you know what? I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I actually would rather work in a corporate job. I want to be a corporate executive. And as I started reaching that, I spent years going for that goal. And as I was reaching that goal for a very large Fortune company, they moved me all around the US. I had a few thousand employees in the end, did a lot of advising and consulting for them. I realized I hated it and it's not what I wanted. But during that time, though, my wife was actually building her business. So she started with $20, reselling items on Amazon. And within a year, that business was doing $1 million in revenue. And eventually we took it to doing $15 million in e-commerce sales over the span of 6 years while that business was still active. During that time, though, so I would work my corporate job, and then at night, or sometimes actually during my corporate job, because I was working from home, I would actually work in the business. So I learned a lot about marketing, digital marketing. I learned a lot about PR and gaining media, building relationships there. So I handled a lot of those aspects.
So the Amazon stuff, you were doing like PR and media, and like you were doing it. And that's one of the things as we talked that kind of became obvious. Like you guys, you don't just go the standard route. Like Amazon, you can just market on Amazon, do keyword stuff, right? Like you can get yourself sponsored and put yourself up there. Like you guys like pushing that envelope and saying, how else can we get our name out there?
Yeah, well, so we didn't focus only on the Amazon business. We used, because right away, we saw, since we were kind of the first ones to start selling skincare online, we were selling more than Amazon, more than Sephora. We were one of the top in skincare. The problem though is Amazon doesn't like that, and they take a lot of your data, and I can go on for days. That we realized we have to own our own real estate, and only selling on Amazon was dangerous. So that's why we started doing lots of different businesses at that time. Like we opened up a actual brick and mortar spa, which ended up being an Inc. 5000 winning company. We opened up the hotel business. We reinvested that money because we knew we were never going to stay on Amazon forever.
Right. So how many, you have a spa now? Do you have more than one location, or that just the main one?
Yeah, no. So we had multiple locations. We were working on franchising it. But then 2020 happened. Yeah. So we realized,
and you're in California.
And I'm in California. So being shut down for like a year and a half, we realized, we don't really want to focus on that anymore.
Okay. So you did that. You got the hotel going. When did you start with, and guys, he went through that in just a couple of minutes, like, oh yeah, got up to 15 million and we kept that going, but we realized, that wasn't going to, it's like the drive and everything to get there. And I'm sure there's a hell of a lot more to, I know there's more to that story because we spent some time talking about it, which, maybe we have you back, just chat about branding and other stuff too, but how did Clubhouse launched and you started building there? And you guys did something cool there that other people had. So just real quick, because I know it's not as active as it was, but what is Clubhouse and how did you guys get big there?
Well, I'll back up. So in 2018, my wife and I were actually on our way to get married, and we were about to go to the airport. We had 10 friends. We were actually getting married in the Philippines at a resort, and Amazon shut down our business. We got a message, and if you've ever sold on Amazon, when you get suspended, sometimes there's no coming back from that. And basically there was no coming back from that. So overnight, we freaked out. We're like, oh my God, do we even go get married, right? My wife literally had to go through 6 months of physical therapy because of nerve damage. It was really, being an entrepreneur, there's some really great highs, but there's a hell of a lot of really bad lows. So what we said at that moment though was, we need to figure out a life purpose, because we had a business mission, and when that business went under, we were left like, what do we even want to live for right now, right? Mostly her, because I was still doing some other things at the time. Right. But we came up with the idea of we want to impact 100 million entrepreneurs in our lifetime, and so everything we do is around our life mission. It kind of falls into the business. When Clubhouse came around, we saw this as a way that we could maybe connect with a lot more people to gain our life mission, our life purpose, because 100 million is a pretty, it's a big number. Right. And so on Christmas Day, we didn't have a club back then, our community. We had just started December 12th, I think. So December 25th on Christmas Day, we opened up a room, what it takes to run $1 million business. Our goal was to help people by bringing in experts, people that are in business that can answer questions, just bringing people up, and then they answer a question, then we move on to the next person.
So, and you guys started doing live trainings there in the Clubhouse rooms, and it went on for a little while, right?
Yeah. So the first one. Oh, sorry.
No, didn't you guys set some kind of?
Yeah. So yeah, we had no intention to do that. We just wanted to help people, right? I mean, that was our only intention. Was everyone's on lockdown. Our hotel was shut down, our spas were shut down. A lot of our businesses went on pause, and we didn't know when it would even come back. And so we said, hey, let's help other people that are in the same situation, because we know how it feels. And that day, a few hundred people joined. There wasn't a lot of analytics, so we didn't know exactly how many people, right? Probably now looking back, it was probably 10,000 people. But the next day I woke up and the room was still running, and Ty Lopez was in there, Russell Brunson was in there, Damon John was in there. Every business person you can name in the book was in this room. And I'm like, what the heck? So we jumped in. We're hey,
and they're just in there having the conversation, and you're like, oh, this is cool. Hey guys,
Exactly. What the heck? Why are they here? Because no one was doing business rooms at the time. We were the only ones doing a business room on Clubhouse. And Clubhouse was every marketer on the planet wanted to jump in and figure it out, right? So we got a bunch of people. We created a strategy. We got a bunch of moderators to help, and we went for 21 days. Looking back, we didn't have analytics. We could only see in the moment. So in the moment, there was like 2,000 or 3,000 people at a time in the room. But now that we have analytics, we probably saw about 60 to 80,000 people a day coming in and out of the rooms for 21 days. And then we ran 85 days straight, 24 hours a day marathon. There was less people, but there was about 1 million people that joined in during that 85-day stretch.
So I get all the time, some of our members are brand new, and you say something like 21 days in a row or 85 days in a row, and it's scaring the hell out of people, right? But I think the key there, like, you didn't do it all. You had people to help, but then it's consistency. Like, how do you go to that decision? You go, instead of just like, oh, we make sure we get on a couple times a week, to like, we're just going to do this so big that there's not going to be any way people can ignore us. Like, what was the thought process behind that?
Yeah. So, we follow a lot of like EOS or scaling up. And I know there's a lot of like sales operating systems, right? Where, we built a back-end like operating system. We had an Excel spreadsheet. We created some documents so people knew exactly like what are the rules. We collected about 1,000 moderators that were willing to basically volunteer their time because of our mission. I think in the end of the day, the only reason people came in this room, the only reason people helped is because we constantly said our mission is to impact 100 million entrepreneurs. And I think anyone who wants to build or maintain a community, you have to have a mission, and you have to get anyone. It's like a business, right? Like, your business needs a mission, and you get people gathered around your mission. So people were willing to volunteer their time. People were willing to come in and help and just listen because they wanted to be a part of this mission, this thing. And that's why I noticed when we did the marathons, were like the 85 days, we gathered a lot more people than when we just opened up a room, because I think everybody wanted to be a part of the marathon. Like, that was like, I can't wait, right? Everyone wanted to be a part of it. And I equate that to
the community. Like, I was there during kind of thing. Like, where
exactly.
were you when? That's cool, man. So, I mean, you mentioned offhand Ty Lopez and Russell and Damon John. Who are some others that you've had that you've been able to feature through Clubhouse?
There was this, one of the best was this gentleman named Blake Newbar. I don't know if you know him.
I think I've heard of him once in a while.
But Blake came into the room, like, and he came in through kind of other people, right? Like, it wasn't you guys reaching out to him. He came around because you were doing it. Wasn't that?
Yeah, I didn't exactly. We didn't like. I never met Damon John before, but every day for 20 days straight, Damon John would come in and say hi. And I mean, I didn't know any of these people, right? None of these people would probably ever call me back, previous to this, right? Or even contact me. But what we started doing is a series called Founder's Story, where we, instead of just having a room where we just talk, we wanted to highlight an entrepreneur and then be able to, for the audience to actually ask questions. Like, we had the founder of Reebok, who, like, no one really even knows who this guy is, but he sold his company for $5 billion, right? We had like Jeff Hoffman from Priceline. We had so many people that it's hard to even think of everyone, but we had like Grant Cardone, that was his first room, love him or hate him. Like, that was his first room that he was in all the time. There's so many people that wanted to give back to the communities. And just give back in general, willing to give up that time, but also be able to really interact with the audience.
Right. So Chantel's asking, how did people find out? Like, just other people were in there, right? It was kind of getting pushed. It was organic, right? How'd you get word of your mission out there?
We did like no marketing because in the beginning it was just like, it was the thing. And it kind of makes me think of like TikTok. Like, I have some friends who just started consistent on TikTok and now have like 1 million followers. They didn't do anything. They were just literally, we were like right time, right place. I think sometimes things come up.
Consistency too. It's like, it's right time, right place, but it's a level of, I'm putting myself out there more than other people, right? Like, too many times I just see all the time, like, what's the minimum I can do to make this work versus, like, I'm just going to keep doing this and I'm going to grow it. Like you mentioned, there's no way, if your mission is to reach 100 million people, there's no way in hell you're doing that with like 3 times a week for an hour a day, right?
I don't even want to tell you what my phone said of how much time I spent there in the beginning. But yeah, it's
Like app tracking.
consistency is huge, right? Consistency is key. I think just like any social media, if you're not consistent, why would that platform reward you?
Yeah, and that's the platform ends up rewarding you. So part of Chantel asking, how did you get it out there? If you're super consistent, all of these platforms want members to stay there. And if you're providing content all the time that other people are noticing, they're going to start to promote you too. So you start to show up in searches, and on Instagram, you'll show up on the Explore page, and Facebook, they'll start to promote you because they're like, hey, other people are noticing this. There's got to be something there, right?
Yeah, and it reminds me of like Instagram when they did Reels.
Yeah.
Everyone I know who is consistent with Reels was rewarded, and they were, because like you said, platforms need content. And so they're just looking for people to provide that content. But a lot of people, I remember I started a YouTube channel it was called Cooking for Abs, where I was going to make recipes for working out. This is like 15 years ago. But only
back when we had abs. That was
back when I actually had abs. I only made like 2 videos. And I think back like, wow, if I actually made consistent videos, I might have been like one of the first on YouTube to make videos about nutrition. Like I probably have millions of subscribers.
Yeah, you, Gary Vee, and Casey Neistat, right? It'd be you guys rocking and rolling with it. So how do you go from, all right, so you built up Clubhouse, you've got your, are the spas opened up again? Are you able to run them?
Yeah, the spas. Yeah, they kind of run themselves. Yeah, so we have the spas, and the hotel just reopened. We also have some rental properties that we have too, but most of the stuff is kind of like it's kind of run on its own. So we have time to focus. Yeah.
So you've got that. How did, and I think I love your mastermind dinners, and we can maybe talk more about that too. But how did you start into this? Because you founded a company, you've got the Metaverse Collective, right? And guys, I'll give you a link if you want to check this stuff out. Yeah, we're gonna dive into the Metaverse here in a sec now. I'll get you his Instagram, and then the Metaverse Collective, if it's something, he's got kind of this education platform, which is a little bit more depth, plus insight into, and we'll talk about this. But how did you start looking at it? How did you connect to the Metaverse? And then we'll start to look at what that actually is.
Sure. So something that I focus on is I have a media company. We do mostly PR outreach and PR placement. And what I saw is in that realm, a lot of people were asking me about, Metaverse, NFTs, Web3. They had a company, and somebody very, very big came to me. It was one of the largest NFT drops in that time. They came to me asking if I wanted to do some PR around their project, but I didn't understand what it even was. So I ended up handing it off to somebody, and I definitely regret doing that slightly,
I bet.
because nobody really knew what it was at the time. But it enabled me to say, you know what, I need to really learn about this because this is a big opportunity. And then what we started doing is obviously on Clubhouse and then Twitter Spaces, you started hearing a lot about it, but I didn't really understand it. So what we do is typically to learn something, I like to bring in experts or people that are doing it and learn from them versus like just watching a YouTube channel. So we started bringing in experts last year around all things like Web 3.0, because Metaverse, I mean, it encompasses so many things.
So let's break that down. What is Web 2.0 versus Web 3.0?
Okay, so
in your mind, what's the biggest difference?
Yeah, so this is just me. I would never say I'm necessarily an expert in anything because I feel like it takes years to become an expert. But
you're ahead of most of the people on this call. So and guys, we're going to be talking here about the metaverse, and we'll talk a little bit about virtual reality and augmented reality and mixed reality and all sorts of different stuff and NFTs. And if you're listening, you're going, what the hell? Like, focus on the basics, right? Learn Facebook and Facebook marketing, and that's totally cool. We're just kind of starting to explore this new world. And Dan said something to me earlier today. We were talking, and it's, you don't have to learn all of it and get to be an expert right away. Right now, it's just kind of being aware that it exists and what it is, right? So don't get scared about it. We're just, Dan, you're a visionary. That's a cool thing. Well done. So, all right. So basically, what's the metaverse then?
Yeah. So Web 1.0 was like your flat basic website. Then it went to Web 2.0, which is more social, like social media, Google search, images, videos, connections. Web 3.0 is where you get more into the immersive experience. So like this right here, Zoom could technically be considered a metaverse, or the metaverse, right? The metaverse is really just the internet on steroids, right? So it just encompasses all virtual worlds. This is basically a virtual world right here. So that's why exactly you got Oculus, love the Oculus. So it's really a Web 3.0. It's like the metaverse, virtual worlds. You have NFTs, crypto, blockchain, like all of that stuff is going to be encompassed within Web 3.0 because it's going to be the ability to communicate and then also for us to be more immersive.
Right. So Web 1.0 was kind of like the beginning. 2.0 was things like Google and Facebook and some of these big conglomerates kind of allowing us to become social, but where they owned all of that content, like you're talking about YouTube, and you would have been one of the first creators on there, but ultimately it's YouTube. And then you had Amazon where you were there and selling, but Amazon controls everything, where Web 3.0, if I understand at least some of it with crypto and decentralization and NFTs and some of this stuff in the metaverse, you've got an opportunity, like we have an opportunity to own some of these elements ourselves. Is that fair to say?
That's the hope, right? It's decentralized. It's for everyone. It's democratized. It's not really owned by one giant. However, though, I think as we all have seen in history, I think history might play out differently with, you have a lot of big acquisitions going on right now. And I mean, Facebook launched, they just said they lost $10 billion in investing into their virtual world, which I think it was a little bit more complex than what they announced publicly. But yeah, so companies are already going into it.
So I was talking about this last week. So give me your take on it. So Facebook came out and stock prices dipped, but like, I think it's super early. They hired a bunch of engineers. For the most part, like Meta, as far as like it being popular enough where there's going to be a shift where people are going to start spending, like make that transition, I think that's still a little bit of ways, where everybody that's on here and most of our business is still on Facebook or Clubhouse or Instagram. And most of our clients are on Facebook and Clubhouse and LinkedIn and Instagram. And it's going to be years before there's a big enough shift to where that's going to make a difference. You know what I mean? I think people are like, with the stock price, I just think it was an overreaction to something.
Yeah. I mean, you have like, look at what happened with Apple, changed, some of their stuff, and they're booming with all their ad revenue. So, I mean, I think there's so much more. I think there's also like a lack of trust where, a lot of things happen too, and people are moving their money around in different ways, and there's different ways to market. I mean, like I mentioned, TikTok. I mean, TikTok searched more than Google, which is insane. But I agree with you. Like, I would not spend my money in Facebook ads. Like, I'm doubling down on all my marketing and social media because that's where people are. That's where my clients are.
Yeah. So we don't have to worry about things just taking over in the next few months, guys.
Yeah, we're far. It's very far. It's very, very, I think it's still very, very far away. Maybe, a few years. I think, but like Zoom, like the fact that this is a virtual experience, we just need to think of it differently. Like, I think when people think of virtual experience, they're thinking of like you and I in an avatar sitting in front of each other on an Oculus all day. I think we're so far away from that aspect.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but I tell people too, and I mean, you've done marketing and PR and things. One of the things I say on here, because sometimes people say, well, is the partner program, is Blake's partner program guaranteed? What's going to happen in 5 years and 10 years? And I say, you know what? In 5 years, 10 years, I may be in virtual reality in front of you promoting my product. You may see a hologram or some other, avatar of me, but I still got to be able to communicate with you. I still have to have a message that connects. Marketing as a whole there still has to be that emotional connection, so you still have to learn how to do this shit. It's just going to be in a slightly different medium, the way that radio went to, and really guys, it spins back around. Like all of these things with podcasts
podcasts are just radio 100 years ago. Like it's just, it's recorded, and so you get to listen to it at any time. So
yeah, it's the same thing over again. Well, it's like we have a friend and she does more enterprise build out, but for her to build a virtual space for you, it's about $250,000 to start, and then it goes up from there. She's dealing mostly with like companies like Microsoft and Google, but they're building out stores like e-commerce stores where you physically go to like the mall and then you buy the item and then it gets shipped to you. But I mean, like it's like you're saying, how many people are doing that? It's very few. Right. But I think there's always going to be a mix. Like you said, there's a mix of people. We're actually launching, this is funny you say this, we're launching a cable TV series. Everyone told me cable TV is dead. Nobody watches it. Well, actually, for 1 hour, I can get 20,000 people to watch. Maybe they're not on, Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces, but they're going to buy my product because they're seeing it on cable TV. I agree with you. I think I want to be everywhere.
Yeah. You want to be in as many places as possible, but you're great at a couple of them and then exposed everywhere else. Right. So, all right. So Metaverse is kind of this new, what's the difference between like virtual reality and augmented reality?
Yeah. So these terms, just throwing it out there, I am not an expert when it comes to like AR, VR, and XR. Right. But obviously, VR, you're talking about having like a headset, right? You need a headset, augmented, or some virtual worlds, you can do it on your desktop, but it's a different experience. Augmented reality is like Pokemon Go. You can use glasses or you can have like your phone, and basically you're creating a reality that's in front of you in the real world.
Amazon's got something basic with that right now, and a couple other apps do, where if you're buying like a piece of furniture or decoration, you can point it at somewhere in your room and see the piece of furniture there, and it fits into the space as if it was there. So you can kind of imagine it. So,
yeah.
All right. So what is, and guys, if you've got some questions, now would be the time to ask too. What's I don't know if we want to talk about the blockchain. What's a basic about blockchain?
I wouldn't. I'm not a good person to explain blockchain, but I can tell you blockchain though is really it's changing the world, and there's a lot of things, but I can't even go into definition of blockchain. It's
so what's the meta? So guys, I'll post a link here in a second, but you guys started this group called the Metaverse Collective, right? And in it, there's all sorts of training and other stuff. So like, what is that? What's your mission behind that?
Yeah, so we have a community now. There's over 100,000 people, and we just basically give to the community what they want. So like the dinners were, the community wanted a connection in a small environment. So we figured dinner was a way to do that, right? So I feel like you just give the community whatever your community asks for, you just give it to them. And they wanted a way to learn in more of a private setting, because what we were doing is every week we had people we were bringing in, but when you have a few hundred people in a room, like audio room, people don't really want to ask questions because they feel embarrassed. And they don't want to feel stupid, right? Most of our audience is probably like 30s to 60s. So they're not really like gamers. So gamers are way ahead of their time. They know a lot, they know about all this stuff because they've been doing it in gaming, but non-gamers don't really understand. So what we do is we said, how can we bring this to a more private environment? We bring in experts. We keep it smaller rooms so people can feel comfortable asking questions. And then we record it, and then we place it and house it so people can go back and watch it a few times. So essentially, it's a pretty simple goal there. But what we found though is there's like you mentioned in the beginning, it's supposed to be decentralized, but you have Facebook changing their name to Meta, so everyone thinks that they are Metaverse. You have all these companies jumping in, Microsoft buying, Blizzard and Activision. You have companies who are buying in, and they're going to create. They're going to do exactly what they did in Web 2.0.
Yeah, they're pushing to be able to do that, and they've got a tremendous amount of capital behind them so that they can.
So that's why, we're passionate about entrepreneurs being in this, learning about this space. Doesn't mean you have to get in. Like if somebody came to me and said, "I just want to launch an NFT," I'd say I probably don't. Learn about it first, because it's much more complicated than most people think, right? Like people are creating DAOs, there's all this lingo and everybody wants to do it, but until you hear people doing it, then it's a different experience. So I'd say start learning about everything now. But there needs to be more entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs solve problems, and there's going to be a lot of problems that need to be solved.
Yeah, and worldwide there's going to be issues, and so when you have like the Metaverse Collective that you've put together, that's really what it's about. It's about educating entrepreneurs and helping them learn, because just knowing about stuff, guys, and what's coming down and what's happening can be helpful. And I know I'm kind of looking at some of the videos, and I've got a few of you just eyes are just kind of glazed over, and some people like. Let me ask you what can happen with something like Mateus is talking about blockchain, and it at some point becoming a new financial system. So you've had some experts on. When we look at things like people talk about blockchain, and so we're talking about crypto, and we're talking about utilizing cryptocurrency as a new form of a financial system. You've had experts on, I'm sure, that have talked about it, right? And then you have like these centralized governments, and there's going to constantly be, before we got on, I was looking at my portfolio, like had things gone up, because it's so volatile. Do we need to be worried about like, hey, if I don't have blockchain, or if I don't have cryptocurrency in the next couple of years, governments are going to collapse and I'm not going to have anything? Like, do the experts you've talked to feel like that's an issue, or is it just kind of like starting to slowly become part of the reality? Does that make sense? My question?
Yeah. Just to note, I never give financial advice.
Yes. Yeah. I want to be real clear, guys. We are not experts, financial accountants, attorneys, anything like this. Anything that we're talking about, we're just talking about it. So please do not take this as financial advice. Do not run out and do any investing based solely upon our opinions. Please do your own research and consult with an expert. That said, like, what have you talked about?
That was good. Well, interestingly enough,
I may have had to do something like that once or twice, right?
That was good. If you look at Miami, this is a fascinating one. Go look at Miami, the Miami coin, right? They set up a coin, Miami, the city.
Right, like for everyone living in the city too, right? Like there's
anyone around the world can invest in the Miami token. So anyone in the world can invest, and then Miami as a city will take disbursements. It's a little bit complicated, right? So I'm not like giving you the whole download, but just you can read about it, how a municipality, the first one anywhere in the world first city in the US to create their own coin. Instead of taxing people, they're using the money. So I think, there's countries that are starting to adopt this. Barbados, interestingly enough, is going to do a big project right now where they're going to be in a virtual world of Barbados. They're going to create their own currency. They're doing a whole bunch of things to be really ahead of the time. But the whole goal is actually to attract people to go to Barbados.
Right. Yeah, it brings stuff in. So you have cryptos and you have what's an NFT then? Because you mentioned that and we've brought it up, but what is an NFT?
It's a non-fungible token.
Okay, so what the hell is fungible?
So non-fungible is rare. Think of like diamonds, right? Every diamond is a rare diamond. There's no two diamonds that are exactly alike unless they're manufactured, right? That's why some diamonds have a cost higher than another diamond.
Right.
So diamond would be non-fungible. It's unique. Everyone is unique. It's completely different. Fungible could be something that is the same as another.
Okay. So simply means uniqueness, right? So non-fungible means not like something else, and it's a token. So I've heard, so we see all these things when you hear the news, they talk about NFTs. And if some of you guys have seen on social media, you see this thing about NFT, and it's like the Bored Ape. So it's a weird looking picture of an ape. It's a cyberpunk. So it's like a barely, pixelated. It looks like something from the 80s, right? That would go in Space Invaders or something like it. So why are these things selling for, hundreds of thousands of dollars? Like, what the hell is it?
Yeah. So I'd say the most are not selling for a lot of money, right? You have a few that really hit, and there's some people that are making money and flipping and things like that. But the digital image is just the way to transfer it from one person to the next. Mm-hmm. But it's what you advertise as the utility behind it. So think of it like you have a community, right? And you want to reward your community, or you want to make sure that you can differentiate between community members, maybe that are more active versus ones that are not. And so you say, I'm going to sell you this at, I don't know, $200, whatever it is, right? Usually it's using like Ethereum or some sort of cryptocurrency. But for the sake of this, let's say it's $200. And when you get that, you then get access to my community, which will then give you access to people, collaboration, learning, whatever that is, right? The Bored Ape, though, what they did a really good job about creating a community that had very high value. And once celebrities got in, everybody wanted to get in. But because it's capped at that, theirs is 10,000 and other people have different numbers. But because
10,000 of that particular design. So there's 10,000 unique non-fungible tokens. So like 10,000 designs, but there's stuff behind the design. So it's not just like a picture, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are things like people, there's artists that they create a piece of art and it's like, there's only one Mona Lisa.
Right.
That's a little bit different. That's like people are purchasing it based off, they think the art will be more of value based on the artist who's doing it. But I think a lot of because there's so many people started doing that, the market became flooded, that people are now more looking at like, what's the utility? What do I actually get from purchasing this, more than I want to buy it in hopes that this image becomes more value.
Right. So either community behind it or some kind of like Steve Sims, we've talked about this, I've talked about him guys plenty. He launched one, but it was stuff with, his new book coming out and the book launch or a mastermind. If you get the NFT, it's kind of like your ticket in to be able to go do that. So, okay. So Craig's got a question, Dan. What are your thoughts about OpenSea and selling images? Do you do it at all? Do you know about it?
Yeah, I mean, OpenSea is a marketplace to sell. It's also a secondary marketplace where you can resell items. Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's so hard to say because it's like the value sometimes is what someone's willing to pay for it.
Right.
So maybe it'll go up. A lot of them don't go up. They actually go down. I mean, if somebody who likes your art, maybe they'll buy it. Or if you have a famous artist that's what I mean. I think it's now become more complex because you're competing against a lot of people who are also doing it. Right. So I think what I look at is more of how do I tap into my existing community first, and then maybe take it to outside of that.
Well, and what kind of value can you bring, right? So, or what kind of value am I purchasing from this, as opposed to just this digital image that's great as digital art? What else is behind it? What kind of value is going to be there, overall? So guys, again, looking at things like the metaverse and looking at crypto and looking at NFTs, a lot of this it's coming down the road in one way or another, right? So there's like with an NFT, there's contracts and there's other stuff that they can use. And I've heard said by a few people that, in 15 years, maybe a little bit longer, like an NFT, because it's on this decentralized blockchain where there's this contract and there's no question about it, they'll be selling houses with an NFT, right? Because it's unique to that house, right? Have you heard stuff like that?
Yeah. So I think you're referencing a smart contract. So you can make a smart contract tied to the blockchain. The great thing is it's transparent. So that's why people love the blockchain, right? Is everything is transparent. It's a ledger that, keeps a record of everything. So I can see exactly who purchased, what people do, which is not typically, right? So now if I want to buy a house, I can see you owned it. I can see someone else owned it. But then also with the NFT, you can tie in the smart contract a royalty percent that, let's say I create an NFT for my house and I sell it to you, and then you sell it to somebody else, I can still get a royalty fee every time my house is sold thereon.
There you go. That could be fun. Talk about a new step in real estate investing. So, all right. Questions, guys? We got some people that are involved here and others are kind of going, what am I talking about? What's going on? Tell me a little bit about how, with your mastermind dinner that you do, why do you do that? Who have you had, what value does something like that bring? What has it brought to you? And we'll talk about how people can,
Well, all right. Before we do that, tell me a little bit more in depth about the Metaverse Collective, what it is and how it works and that kind of thing. Then this is what you put together, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the community, like I was mentioning before, they wanted the ability to have more learning in a smaller environment where they felt comfortable. But even bigger than that, that's just one small piece, I think, of how, right, learning is like the first thing, right? You need to learn to do. But the biggest thing, and like you mentioned, I really want to bring people together because that's what we've been good at. The dinners, the community, everything we do is around how do we bring people together? Because once they're come together, they can collaborate. They can, like you're saying, maybe you're an expert artist, and then I'm an expert in something else, or maybe you know how to do smart contracts, and this person knows how to do some other development or coding, right? We come together, we collaborate, we partner. I think the biggest thing I think about like Web 3.0 is it's going to be collaboration on the next level. Like it's really encouraging people to collaborate. So I would love to see people come together, collaborate, and create a unicorn company. I mean, create $1 billion company would be incredible. I think we interviewed somebody, he's 32 years old. This is really what blew my mind. He's 32 years old. At the time he had started his company 14 months prior. It's a game, right? They call it play to earn games where you make money by playing. His company was valued at the time $13 billion. It was the fastest company ever to hit $10 billion valuation. The game didn't even exist yet. It wasn't even finished. And so when I saw that, I was like, wow, like how the heck is this? So I'm not saying this is the norm. This is just what really opened up my eyes last year to like what the possibility.
Well, so I mean, I would say most of people on this call and then even watching the replay, most of them aren't going to be coders, right? And they may not be doing smart contracts and things. So like something like the Metaverse Collective, like why is it important to just start learning about this stuff now? Like what kind of benefit would that be?
Yeah, so you learn about it, but then the collective though is a place for people to collaborate. So if you
what would I be I just joined because I know you, right? And really that was, hey, let's do it. But what could, is it something where I should kind of sit on the periphery and keep learning and then build relationships from there? I mean, I feel like I know a bit about marketing strategy and other things on this entrepreneurial journey, but when it comes to the blockchain and this side of it, I'm a puppy, right? There's nothing, I'm not bringing much to the table other than being cute. So like, what else do you do with, in getting into it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think it's because it's not like, hey, this is like, you're going to learn about marketing. There's so many different things with Web 3.0. It's hard to say, pinpoint, like your specific business is going to be, you're going to need this one thing, right? I think that's the whole point of when you learn, you start to realize what the possibilities even are. If it's something that maybe you need right now, and if it's something you need right now, you need to find someone that can help you do it. Like we have smart contract people in there. We have people that do all these things so you know where to look, right? People that are already doing something. I have a client who she has a large franchise fitness. Well, she just launched an NFT, but she knew she really wasn't going to sell the NFT, but she wanted to gain a lot of media exposure as being the first to create one. But she needed someone to do the smart contract. She needed all these aspects. So it's like when you're in a collective,
she did it to create buzz around her regular business.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I think there's different possibilities for people. One, you got to learn even what those possibilities are, how that relates to something that you're doing or something you want to do or something you can think about.
So how is that? So getting introduced to all of this stuff, like you're talking about, this guy that comes on with this game, learning about how has that affected your other businesses, right? The PR that you do, the TV, your mastermind, the hotel, like how has that made this kind of transition? Like how has the metaverse made you look at your other businesses?
Well, I can tell you this. I think if I was to say the one thing that this industry needs more is people to do marketing. There's a massive gap right now. People launch a project, but they honestly have no clue or don't really think about the marketing side. I know that sounds crazy, but it's very backwards of an industry, right? Because a lot of them are very technical individuals. So they need people that actually can do the marketing side, I think, more than anything. So if you have the experience with like funnels, and that's where I say you have an expertise in something. I'm sure there's somebody out there that also needs your expertise, right? I think this community, you all are learning how to do funnels and social media marketing and stuff like that. Well, that's pretty much what a lot of these industries need, is they need someone who has, so it's not necessarily, that's where I'm saying about my business. My media company, I didn't know really much about this before. I actually was a computer programmer and went to school for computer science, funny enough, but I stopped, 20 years ago. So I have a base knowledge around some of these things previously. However, though, I saw there was a gap where these companies needed media exposure, because a lot of it is based on like FOMO and things like that. So I said,
fear of missing out is what by FOMO.
The fear of missing out. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm not necessarily an expert in it, but I know that they need my services, and there's not a lot of companies actually providing that service in this industry. So that's where I
use it, like with your regular media, and to help promote other people, like you said. Have you started looking at it with like the spa or hotel or anything? Have you looked at what kind of connection the metaverse would have with it?
Yeah, actually, next week we fly to the Philippines because my wife is she's doing a TEDx talk on women in the metaverse and opportunities. And then we're going to go straight to our resort. We actually might shift our resort into a gamers resort, which is the first one ever to do this, where we cater to gamers.
That's cool. And your wife is from there, right? Like, and it's just a cool spot. So, I mean, that's a big shift. I mean, but yeah, being a visionary and taking chances. Sounds like you guys have done a few of those things.
Yeah, so. What changed my perspective too is I was talking, and this is why the good thing about, going back, when you learn about something though, you can then talk to people about it. So if I'm going to go to a company who's doing something within this space and I don't know anything about it, they can tell, like, it's very difficult for me to have a conversation. Yeah. When I have a base knowledge, then I can go to them and say, hey, I provide this service. I have a base knowledge of what you're doing, which makes it easier for me to connect to the consumer, where if I don't know anything about it, it's really difficult. But somebody told me that, hey, you know what? During the gold rush, it wasn't the people that got the mine for gold that were the wealthiest. It was the people that provide the axes and the service, right,
and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They were the ones. So that's why I'm thinking, like, I don't necessarily need to do something directly within it, but I would love to provide services to companies who are, and that's where. But I need to be around people who are doing it in order to find those companies.
But it starts with a base knowledge, and guys, you can obviously, Dan's a little further along that route than we are. I'm not doing the stuff that he is, but I'm talking more and more to him because opportunities arise when you step out into the unknown. I think more than anything, right? Like, let me ask that. So being, people are talking about you being a visionary on here, and you're doing these things in a way that a lot of people would probably said, you're kind of crazy for it. But what are some connections or opportunities that have arisen because you just decided to try something new?
And talk about like that Barbados project. That's something that we're going to most likely help with. But just because we talked about it.
So hold on, you're helping the government of Barbados put together something?
Yeah, no, I'm not helping the government. So there's an agency who's helping the government.
Okay, and you're involved in that.
Because I was talking about this topic on LinkedIn, I got all these messages, and one agency who's doing it for the government reached out to us to help them with some certain aspects. That's what I'm saying. Like, because I'm having a base conversations, I'm getting all of these people reaching. We're advising for a game right now. We're building a guild. We're doing a lot of things where we're doing advising for, because we have that base knowledge and we're talking about it. Even though I'm not advising for them specific on this topic. I'm advising for them on what I know.
Right.
So I'd say, like, I'm not even kidding. Every day, I probably get somebody reaching out to do something. We have a dinner later on. A lunch later on to talk to somebody who wants to. Every day there's like somebody reaches out about something, and there's like not enough time.
Yeah. Guys, I don't bring it, like when Steve was on, we talked about his book. When Gay was on, we talked about his book. They obviously have other stuff. Dan has these dinners and other things. This is the link to the metaverse. If you want to take a look and you want to join, they have that. I am a member. It's up to you. There's no pressure or anything. But I think the biggest thing that you want to do is learn about what's going on. And, this is great topics for your pages. Like, ask people, hey, what do you guys know about the metaverse? What do you think about this? Do you think it'll ever work with, will the metaverse affect health or locksmiths or attorneys or this or that? Create conversations, right? That's what it's about. And if you're in a position to create a conversation around anything that may at one point affect the niche and industry that you're working with, that you're marketing to, then position yourself as a leader. And that's what Dan's doing, right? So he doesn't have to be the expert in smart contracts and NFTs and everything else. He's in media and marketing and connections in the entrepreneurial space. And so as he talks about it, people come and they go, well, hey, he's connected and he ran this and he's got this, group on Clubhouse and he's done these other things. It's this safe space for entrepreneurs to come together. Hey, I'm sure they're asking who else what else you can do, what your thoughts are. And then you just like, yeah, by the way, I also have, right?
100%. Yeah. Exactly. I totally agree with like no pressure on things. I'm like, hey, if you put it out there and it works in the world, that's awesome. And people need it. But yeah, that's totally true. I would suggest anyone on this, like the least thing you can do is go watch some YouTube videos, go do some research on some news. That's why we actually created, like, we have a publication and a TV show. A lot of this has to do with education, right? So go do some Google searches and just stay up to speed with what's happening, because I think you're poised, because you're learning the marketing. Like, the most important thing, right, is like marketing, like getting your eyes on something, the funnels, all these items that I know you're learning within, from Blake. To me, that's the most important thing, because that is what everybody is going to need, whether it's within your business or within something else.
Yeah. So guys, the one link is for the metaverse. The other one is for Dan's Instagram. So you can follow him there. Kate Hancock is her last name, right? Is Dan's wife. And they're constantly doing, like he said, they've got a lunch later on. They've got TV stuff they do. When's her TEDx talk?
It's the 19th of February.
That's cool, man. I'm guessing they're going to record and it'll be available online at some point. So
hopefully.
That's, yeah, I would think so.
Recently, we were doing this really important interview and I forgot to hit record. So I only had 20 minutes with this person, right? They're a very busy individual, and we were lucky enough to get 20 minutes. 10 minutes in, because my wife does the interview, I tell her, oh my God, like, let's stop. Like, I totally forgot to hit the record button.
Are we allowed to hear who it is? Or like, who are some cool people that you've interviewed? Let me ask you that. Or that you've had at like your dinner. You mentioned founder of Reebok. You recently had the founder of Priceline that you guys met with, right? Who else?
We actually had Steve Sims there. He's a cool guy.
Steve's pretty fantastic.
We have like a lot of people too that in like their 70s and 80s who are like the originals of things. Like Jim Cathcart. A lot of people don't even know who he is, but the guy's like a Hall of Fame speaker with Zig Ziglar. So we always try and bring in somebody who's interesting or you don't even know who they are. Like Dr. Bernie is amazing. He was Deepak Chopra's mentor. So it's like looking for these people who probably are not as well known right now. But we did actually have a big interview. I just publicly can't say it yet.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Bernie Siegel. We did have a big interview with Richard Branson, but unfortunately with Omicron, it got pushed to September, but it's in person. So that'll be pretty cool. Hopefully.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. Do you get to do it over on the island?
No, it's in Austin, Texas. It's not as cool.
Not quite as cool as Necker Island, but it works. All right, guys. Any last questions before we wrap up? Dan, you have any your own personal? You talked about the company mission is guiding, trying to affect 100 million entrepreneurs. do you have like a personal driving? Actually, here, go ahead. Personal driving. Like, do you have a phrase, mission, etc., anything like that for you personally?
I need a phrase.
You need a catchphrase.
I definitely don't think of myself as a visionary. Like I have like imposter syndrome, but no. So my actual life mission is to impact 100 million entrepreneurs, and so everything we do is around that. But I can tell you, I mean, it's amazing. Like the community that you have here, and entrepreneurship is so damn hard, and it's so rewarding, but it's so damn hard at the same time. Yeah. And so I love just being a part of other groups and communities where people are getting together and helping one another.
All right. So, favorite book?
Oh my God.
I'm going to put you on the spot, give you a couple.
I didn't know. Favorite book of all time?
Yeah. Ooh, I mean, man. or if you got 2 or 3 or whatever, but like if someone's like, hey, I want something good to read, what would you say?
Oh my gosh. I hate being on the spot. I like blanking now. What is the last book I read? I don't even know the last book I read. I don't even know. I had to think about it.
Okay. What's okay. So something that you've purchased in the last year that's under $100 that you were like, kind of either guilty pleasure or like totally worth the money or something like that.
Hey, I did enjoy Tim Ferriss's Tribe of Mentors book, by the way.
Yeah.
On audio, it's one of my favorite books.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it because I got just super ADHD, and so I'm able to, you bounce around with that book. So totally pulling some of these questions there. What's the other one he asks? So do you have like a favorite purchase in the last year? Something
under $100? Ooh, you know what? My favorite purchase, does it have to be business or just general?
No, just whatever.
There's these sugar-free ice cream dessert treats that I go to the store and get every day.
You probably buy them in bulk. So
it's only $4.99.
And you're just eating through the whole box every day.
I eat 4 a day. It's probably horrible for me, but
are you a like set morning routine kind of person, or do you kind of just let the day go? I know you guys are busy, but do you have like a set morning routine, or do you just kind of do things?
Yeah, so typically we never do calls before 10 a.m. Because we
appreciate you like super, made the excuse to get on with me. So
this is different. Yeah. Because usually we go to the gym and we have a sauna, and my wife and I, we have like 7 things that we have to do every day. We have to laugh every day. Like it's more of like personal things we have to do every day.
So what are the 7?
Well, I can't. At least
the ones you can tell us.
I was going to say, I can't name 3 of them.
Okay. Well, so what are the 4 you can name?
No, so we go to the gym every morning at 8 a.m. and then we go in the sauna right at the gym at 9, and then we have to laugh every day. We have to learn every day, and then I don't know if I can name the rest, but it's like we have to have fun. Like we have to do something that's not. I have to walk my dog every day in the morning. Like that's actually because when I walk the dog, like I have really bad ADHD, so I need to. It helps me decompress before the day starts.
Right. Well, and your dog's about as big as one of my dogs, like this big. So
that's true. I also have a VA. This has helped me a lot, but I have a virtual assistant in the Philippines, and she does a lot of work at night. So when I wake up in the morning, a lot of the work is done for me.
That's great. And then I think that's about it, guys. We could keep going, and I could drag it on, but Dan, I appreciate you coming on and
thank you.
And I love your story. I love what you're doing. I love, if you're interested, guys, I'll post the link in the Skype group as well. If you're interested in taking a look at the whole collective and what they're offering there, I'll post the link. If you'd like it, great. If not, that's okay. But Dan, thank you for coming on, my man.
Yeah. And if you want to message me, we have a free session today that's about Polkadot. And I don't want to go into too detailed.
Get me the link. Get me the link for the free session, and then I'll pass it along to him.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll do that. Guys, I appreciate you. Go out and have an awesome day. Sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it. Just go forward.
Thank you, everyone.
How do you stand up? What you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are.